Hello and welcome to the 3D Total podcast. My name is Paul Hellard. This evening I had a really nice chat to Beatrice Blue, a very busy illustrator and animator living in Spain at the moment. As you'll hear, a key part of Beatrice Blue's work time is the ability to get out and experience the world. Next year will be an important opportunity for her career because she's embarking on a long tour, which includes a few months in Japan. Now I'll let her tell you more about it, so here she is, Beatrice Blue. Hello and welcome, Beatrice Blue, to the 3D Total podcast. Tell me, you've been travelling a bit just lately. Can you tell me where you've been?
Hi, yes. Well, my husband and I used to live in Canada, and we've always loved to travel, but so this time we moved from Canada, and right now we decided to not rent a place just yet, and to keep traveling to several places of the world for at least a year. So we don't have a place. Our stuff are going to be in a box for now, and we're just gonna travel and do workshops and see different cultures, and that will be great.
Yeah. That's tremendous. So you've got locations set up along the way. Have you planned out your world tour?
Yes. So basically, we have arranged workshops in different parts, and that will be the main places that we'll go, and then we'll just maybe see around those areas once we're there. So we've got Spain now, Sevilla, and then we'll come back for Christmas with our family because our family is in Spain. And then we'll go to Amsterdam, then Austria, then Rome, then London, and then I think I'm not forgetting. Oh yeah, then it's Spain again, like Malaga, the south of Spain. And then we'll go to Japan for 3 months.
I'm going to backtrack here because I'm sure a few of us are wondering about your background. Tell us about Beatrice Blue. Where did it all start?
Oh, at a little village in the mountains of Spain. I'm from Madrid, from the center of Spain, and there's some little villages on the mountainside, and I'm from one of those where you can't buy anything. All you can do is just pet the cows and say hi. But it was actually great. I love it. It's full of snow and full of nature, and no sounds, mainly no cars, and it's great. So I've always wanted to be an artist. I was going to be a musician though, and one day I decided to be a painter, and so I studied contemporary arts mainly. I traveled to New York with all I had and the little money I had, and I went to New York and studied very hard figure drawing and painting from still life for a few years, and then one day after several travels, because I've always been moving around, I came back to Spain to do a few things, and I met Danny, my husband. He's also an artist, and I decided to stay. And so he was working in animation, and I saw what he was doing, and I remembered that when I was a kid, I always wanted to try to do that, but it felt so far away and so complicated. And so I decided to give it a try, and I tried a Wacom for the first time. I did not know what digital art was like 5 years ago.
Yeah.
And yeah, so I mean, I cried a lot. It was a tough process to be able to transfer what I knew into digital art, but it's amazing right now because I can develop all of my ideas and tell stories with all my images, and it's just great to be able to create things from scratch. It's always wonderful to analyze things from still life, but if you apply that to both animation, picture books, and everything that has to do with developing from the imagination is amazing.
Creativity has its own rewards. I noted earlier you were saying you sort of wanted to be a musician but crossed that line. It's a bit fuzzy line, really, because it's both very creative. Tell me about, was there a time, a particular instrument you were concentrating on as a musician?
Yes, I play guitar since I'm 5 or 6, classical guitar, and I've always sung. And my parents also play music, so my sister plays piano.
Yeah.
I learned a bit of piano too, and then I went into drums when I was 12 or 13. I also played a bit of bass and yeah, a little bit of violin, but just a little bit, and Irish flutes.
Wow. Does music help your art?
Oh yes. I've actually, now that you mention it, I think I've never played music and then painted afterwards, which is actually cool. I should try it.
Yeah.
But I always draw or paint while listening to music. It's always in my ears. I always had headphones on every time. They're like part of my head right now. They're stuck in there.
Okay.
So yeah, I love all kinds of music. It's part of my life every day.
Well,
Yeah.
there you go. There's that lead into my next question. What's the music?
Well, all sorts, to be honest.
Sure. Do you have a Spotify playlist we can jump on?
Oh yeah, I have lots. Actually, I've been doing this since a few years ago. Every time I read a book, because I also love reading, I create a new playlist that goes with the book, and I make the playlist as I read the book. So I don't listen to anything else while I'm reading that book. And then so when I listen to them after years, it reminds me the whole story that I read years ago just by listening to the music that I listened when I was reading it.
I love that. I
have tons of...
Yeah. How does that make you feel?
Great. I don't know, it feels like I can go again into a mood or a moment that I liked in the story that I read, and it becomes part of me as well. Because like every story that is read can be interpreted in so many ways, and the way it made me feel is so unique that just by listening to the music, you don't have to even make an effort to remember that feeling. It just comes back, and it's an amazing feeling.
Yeah, yeah. Your characters that I've seen in Wonder and various other books and on your Instagram and everywhere else, they're simple, but they're incredibly likable. So where does that character come from?
I guess from wanting to tell little stories with them. I want them to feel unique and it's people that you would like to meet because they have an interesting background, or you would like to know more about them, basically. And I don't know, I'm very intrigued by all the magical worlds since I was very young with Harry Potter and all those magical stories. And I always try to put a tiny bit of magic into each character and make them special in a way, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, tell me about. I'd like to know a little bit more about the characters. I mean, they are teenagers and young kids in most of these images. Do you have part of yourself in them?
I guess so. I've never thought of that, but I believe I do. It feels kind of strange to me that whatever I create doesn't have a part of me. Everything I do is choices that I make on paper or on life. So if I paint something, it's gonna have a bit of me for sure. So I'm sure I haven't dug into it, but I'm sure if I go into each character, I'll find a piece of myself that I want to put out there for sure.
Yeah. Pretty much freestyle, or is it? Do you depend on a commission?
It really depends on the project that I'm working. I usually do animation projects for other companies, or I do books. Usually my books or books for others, but just illustrating. When I'm doing my books, I'm also writing them. So I guess it really depends, because if I'm working for an animation project or a commissioned, let's say, cover or illustrated book, I already have a text or a briefing saying how that character is. And I just have to try to figure out how visually that person is and put it on paper so that everybody understands visually what that person is about, and they want to learn a little bit more about them, right? If I'm doing my own stories, though, I think of the story that I'm going to write and how the character has to be in order to fit that. And it really depends on all the things that a story carries, like if that kid is innocent or if that kid is reckless or all those things. It's going to definitely change the appearance, because you have to feel that the moment you see either the kid or the adult or whatever character you create, right?
Yeah.
You have to try to understand if that character is going to be shy or easy to talk to just by looking at it. And I think there is a choice when creating those characters, but there is a part that I can't really choose because it's part of what the character is, and it's meant to be like that.
Yeah. Yeah. Can you tell me, I'm not sure what your limitations are for copyright and such, but can you tell me about a project that you're particularly enjoying or have enjoyed in the past that you've produced?
Yeah, I love doing Wonder with 3dtotal just because it was a great team, and I really enjoyed doing a book that I already had done most of the illustrations, and it was talking about my creative process, and I could create some more and create some characters according to my work. So it was a bit of an unusual process, and it was great. But I also enjoyed a lot the book that I'm going to release right now is a picture book, and is the second one that I do.
Mm-hmm.
And I wrote that a year ago, and I just finished it a few months ago. And I enjoyed every bit of the process because it was I think it's the first picture book that, well, I mean, it's the second book I do, but it's the first one that I feel like it's the path that I want to take for now. And it feels very solid in that way. And it's very hard for me to feel proud of the things that I do every time, just because I think I can do them better, and I can see the value in them, and I can value the work. But I always want to do better. I push myself really hard.
Mm-hmm.
But with this book, the one that I'm telling you about, I kind of felt like that was it. Like, of course, it can be better, but I kind of feel like I did great. And that feels very nice.
Oh, of course. At the moment, what is your studio like? Give us a glimpse of your surrounds.
Well, right now, at this very moment, I am at my little sister's room with her computer that I stole to be able to work on a big illustration, because she has the same iMac I used to use. So I'm like, oh, you know what? I'm going to steal your computer because she's not here. But so basically, I had this beautiful studio in Montreal, and but I had to sell my big screen that I had and buy a portable computer to be able to work abroad. And basically, I just work with a Wacom and the MacBook, and with the iPad and Procreate. Basically, that's my main way to work right now. So I don't have a studio really. I mean, I have my sister's room right now, but I'm not gonna use it in the next few days for a year. So my studio will be just random places, I guess, like wherever I go to. But basically the screen on my computer.
Yeah, and your trusty Wacom.
Oh yeah.
yeah. Now, because it's such a portable studio, and you've got your MacBook and your Wacom and your Procreate, what limitations do you actually find with your tools like that?
I think I have it all in that sense. I don't think I'm missing anything. If anything, it could be a bigger screen, just because I do have one, but I can't carry it with me because it's very heavy.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's mainly for example, for the picture books or things like that. I really like to see the full picture of what I'm doing. Also on color scripts or things like that for movies, I really like to see it in big. But actually, when you look at the smaller screen on the MacBook and you work on that for a few days, your brain kind of fits it in, and it's okay too. So yeah, I think it's just adapting to it, really. Yeah, but
Okay.
I can do it all.
I'm interested in your following year, your year to come, because you're stepping out of Spain and going up through to the continent and then across to Japan. You were saying, tell me more about this because I'd like to publicise it a bit more and promote it. Do you have conventions that you go to already, and you're all set up to land at the right time in the right place?
You mean in Japan or on the other countries as well?
As well, yeah.
On the other countries, we're basically going for workshops. So we don't have online classes or anything like that. And we'd rather do it presential now that we can. So
Yeah.
we're basically going to just meet people that wants to meet us and learn from them the same way they learn from us. So in every city or country that we're going to do a workshop. And then not on the if we do a detour or something, we'll just go travel for enjoyment. But
Yeah.
the ones that I told you is basically workshops. And then Japan, we're going to an art residency in a little village by the Fuji for 3 months, and we'll do exhibits and we'll do workshops and we'll travel and learn the culture, and it will be amazing. Basically, yeah. But we don't have anything set right now, since we're going to prepare it all once we're there with the local people. So
Wow.
yeah,
That's
that's
fantastic.
basically the plan.
Yeah, you're
Yeah.
the importance of getting out and seeing the world is such a kernel for creativity. How does it feel for you to just disappear into a country you've never been to before?
Oh, it's the most amazing experience. I think it's one of my favorite things ever. More than painting, more than music.
Yeah.
I just meeting people and seeing them in their culture and learning about that. It makes me, I don't know, like just understand a bit more about everything and about my values, and that is very important to me. And we went to Nepal, I think it was, I believe 3 years ago now, if I'm not mistaken. And it was the best experience ever. Just to see, I'm looking at some pictures right now on the wall, and just to see the kids and the families there and how they looked at us and how they saw us, and the thoughts that, just to think of the way that we saw them and how they saw us, and how the visions of each other are so different and probably not accurate in both ways. It's just amazing. I went with this little Fuji camera that prints the photos right away,
Okay.
and we went to a village where they have never seen themselves because they didn't have resources. They only had mud houses that they built with their hands, and there was I don't know the word for this. Where they basically couldn't have water in their houses, so they had to go far away to get the water
To the well.
from a little. Yes,
Oh,
exactly.
wow.
And so basically there was a few kids, and I got my camera and I asked the mum, just with symbols because we couldn't understand each other, if I could take a photo of the kid. And then the mum said okay, but a bit like she really didn't want to, or wasn't sure about what it was.
Yeah.
And so I took the photo and I gave it to the kid. And at first it was white, so because it was appearing little by little, and the
Yeah.
kid just kept staring at it, and suddenly the photos started coming out. If you could see the kid's eyes, he would just open them like he was seeing a magical thing, and started calling kids, and then all the kids gathered around, And I think they understood at that second that they could see that forever. And even if they grew up, they could see themselves past then. Because even if they saw themselves reflected anywhere, it's okay. But then how do you capture that? And so the mom, like you could see the eyes that they were almost crying. And so she asked me just with symbols if she could gather her family together, and they all posed. And I took a picture of all together and I gave it to her, and she was so grateful. And just those little things, I just don't know how to explain it. It's just amazing because I mean we both learned so much from that. But I don't know. I just want to share with everybody that we're all the same, and how we see the world is so different just by a few miles away, right?
Yeah, yeah. Thank you for that story. That was lovely. Now let's I'll veer back in because I'd like to ask you a little bit more about what your influences were when you started sketching and illustrating and bringing up your characters. And as a young girl, were you a sporty, or were you an inside sketching gal, or were you a bookworm? Where shall I fit you?
I guess all of them, if that's a possibility. I love to go outdoors, but I love to stay at home and draw. But as a kid, really, I loved more to read and to go outside than to just stay at home and paint. I would rather play video games or play guitar.
Yeah.
Yeah, for some reason I love to paint, but my sister, or to draw, but my sister was better at it, and I thought I couldn't be that good, and I really enjoyed just playing music and video games for some reason. But I still drew a lot when we went to my parents' house, friends or whatever, their friend's house. I used to always carry a sketchbook with me.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a thing. And I try to paint everything that I had when we traveled. But I don't have any memories of just staying home and not wanting to go out just because I wanted to sketch. Like, that's not me. And I still struggle, actually, when we're traveling or something. If for example, Danny wants to stay and draw, I'd rather go out. It's just very hard for me to just stay there and not explore what I have around me.
Yeah.
And even at my home place, I have a dog, and I love to just walk with her. Because for me, it's when I walk or travel or see things that I want to draw. It's not because I stay home and I try to pull things out of my head. It's not like that. So reading books has always been a passion. It's one of the greatest things. And so I guess that has inspired a lot of my work.
Sure.
Just reading and, again, traveling and music and all those things together.
What titles are you talking about when you're reading? Is it is it fiction, classics? Is it what area of stories?
Well, short stories I've read, fiction, non-fiction, history, everything that's short story I just love, and classics as well. I love poetry also. I love fantasy, of course, and
what particular book inspires you back there? You were talking earlier.
Oh yeah, I keep reading Peter Pan every now and then. It's one of the most inspiring books because it has the metaphors are amazing, and everything in it. I think it's great. Yeah. Fantastic.
Okay. Now I like to loop back around and ask you a little bit more about the book Wonder that I was briefed about by the 3dtotal guys, and it sounds pretty good. Tell me more about it if you can.
Oh yeah, I really enjoyed doing it, especially that the team was amazing to work with, and the book came out super well. Yeah, it's the first time I write anywhere, I think, about my creative process and about how I see my work and how I approach it.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we did it in a good way so that it's kind of nice to read, and it makes the reader, or I hope so, it makes the reader want to try to develop their own ideas and make their own stories. And that's why the name Wonder is about. Yeah, but I'm super glad with it, and it glows in the dark.
That's great. I mean, in a way, this is really your story, because you're one of those lucky artists who are making a living out of drawing and illustrating and creating. And I know a lot of artists are going, how does she do it? What's her secret? I mean, may I ask, what is your secret?
A lot of work. And yeah, well, basically we're talking about traveling and we're talking about all these hobbies and all these things, but to be honest, in the past 4 years we've been traveling a lot, and I've been doing a lot of things and cool stuff, but I've been working so much every day, so many hours every weekend, and to a point where it's very exhausting sometimes. So it's a learning curve, and it's learning about balance too. But basically, if we're talking about my income and how I make a living out of that, I basically combine my picture books or my art books with animation projects. And sometimes I dive into a big animation project and I stay with it and I work my 8 hours a day, like an office, but in a movie or a show. Some other times I do freelances for several companies, which is what I'm doing right now. So I actually almost never have a solid income that comes every month, just as if you were, again, in a studio, right? Being freelance means that maybe a month you're great with money, and maybe you have to stay with that great amount of money for a few months and try to make the best out of that, right? But once you get used to it, you kind of understand your needs and you balance that with the amount of work you want. So sometimes you push a bit more, sometimes you can release a bit of that, and it's nice. It's just you have to manage a lot. That's one of the things that I think I would change if I could, and it's mainly all the logistics and the scheduling and all those things which some people like, but sometimes you just want to draw, right? And to do your own projects, and that's one of the things, I guess. But it's also nice. It's part of it. So yeah, I'm not sure if that answers your question fully.
No, that's good.
If you have any doubts?
Well, the next, certainly no doubts. I've seen your drawings. How do you find clients, or at this stage of your career, do clients find you?
Yeah, usually, yeah. I've actually just reached to a job once, probably, which I'm very lucky about that. It's been only 5 years that I've been doing this, but I got an agent like 4 years ago, and ever since, all the books that I do basically go with them, most of them. But I also have contacts from projects that I've done before or things like that, and I just keep in touch. But basically, they reach to me through my social medias because they can see my work online. And I think that's a very important thing to have, just because right now it's just very easy to find out more about an artist, right? And to contact them through that. You don't need more for that. So for the books, I use an agent for all the illustration projects, but for all the animation things, it's just like a tiny town in animation. You do a good job, and then maybe some other people want to work with you because you worked on this and blah blah blah. So you just got to get out and do 1 or 2 projects, and it just comes. Yeah.
Because I know there's an industry out there for inspirational events, like the Trojan horse over in Portugal.
Yeah.
And they're tremendous networking vehicles for people who need to do that networking and feel that it's useful for their creativity and just their knowledge of the industry. Do you find that those sorts of things are useful?
I think so, enormously actually. I've only been to Lightbox last year.
Yeah.
In September, I think it was, in LA. But you can already feel how that, I mean, it was great for us, but you can already see how, for someone that has never seen the industry or been around that, it just feels like you're inside that community that you want to be a part of, let's say.
The tribe.
Because everybody's there. Yes, everybody's there, and you can see, because you can also think about them like people that you, I don't know, you treasure, right? But once you're there, you see that we're all humans and we are just trying to work and make beautiful projects just like everybody else wants. So it's just about meeting them, talking to them. You can actually, I don't know, just get their stuff or just talk to them, go for a coffee. And that makes connections too, because if someone likes your work, they're going to want to work with you. So there's also portfolio reviews, and you can talk to people from all the big companies. And it's definitely something to do at least once, to try it. Yeah.
It is. Yeah, that's the atmosphere, and those events are phenomenal. That's great. Yeah. So over the next year or so, you'll be doing workshops and traveling around Japan for 3 months, as you said. You lucky thing. I'm sure a lot of people say that, but it is hard work, isn't it? Can you describe a day when you don't have anything planned and you're finding yourself out on the street in Tokyo or Kyoto? What do you do? Do you carry on and jump into a cafe and sketch, or tell me a typical day for you?
So it will be my first time in Japan, which is very exciting. But if that's ever happened to me, I love when that happens, because it's very unusual that I don't have anything to do.
That's the way.
Anything in the schedule. But if I do have that, I just wander around the city, and the way I'm going to try to approach it in Japan is, I think, the same way it was in Nepal. And it's just, if I have free time, I'll go to the street. And if I find a small, let's say, shoe store, I'll go and talk to the man with whatever I can in my non-language Japanese. I don't know how to speak Japanese, but I'll try to talk to him and learn and see how they do things and what is a day in their lives, because that's what's interesting to me. And I'm gonna visit the bakeries, I'm gonna visit the kimono stores, I'm gonna see the art stores, and just like try to meet local artists and try to go to the smallest stores and see what's up. And to me, that's one of the things that inspires me the most, just getting lost in tiny streets and try to find out little magic spots.
Fantastic. And I hope you find some work over there too. That'd be interesting, wouldn't it?
Oh, yes.
Yeah. Because tell me, is there any influence of manga in your work?
I definitely read a lot and saw a lot of anime when I was young, but I don't think there is right now. I would love to have a bit more influence from that, and that's one of the things I'm hoping to get from Japan, to try to absorb the culture and in all the ways, in design wise and creative wise.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's one of the things that I want to do, just explore, read a lot of local things and all the stuff that I can, and try to absorb that in a way that it can influence my work and become something different. So maybe it'll change, maybe it won't, but maybe after July I don't draw this anymore. I don't know.
Sure.
We'll see. That's one of the good things, right?
Yeah, that's great. Thank you very much. It's been great talking to you, Beatrice.
Yeah, thank you. You too.
You have
And I hope you
yeah.
enjoy your time in Nepal.
Oh yeah. I'll
Yeah.
send you a postcard or something.
Oh,
Okay.
yes, nice.
Okay.
All right. Well, thank you so much. Lovely to talk to you.
Bye bye.
Have a good day. Bye bye.
Thanks for listening to our interview with Beatrice Blue. Beatrice Blue's website is beatriceblue.net and her Instagram is at beatrice.blue. She's represented by the Bright Agency. As mentioned, 3dtotal Publishing has done a book with Beatrice Blue called Wonder, the Art and Practice of Beatrice Blue. She explains how she builds her stunning compositions and considers every integral detail of creating balanced designs. Beatrice's designs will appeal to everyone, while her expressive texturing techniques embellish her already intricately detailed works further to create designs with depth and integrity. Filled with playful characters, enchanting natural scenery and captivating narratives, Beatrice's designs will appeal to everyone's inner child. Thanks for listening.